I told you that the emperors of China had zero tolerance for certain crimes, and the punishments for these crimes were brutal on another level? General Kai and Chameleon stole qi from numerous masters, but were their crimes worse than Lord Shin's? Well, we'll find out, because today we're wondering, what if instead of just getting their butts beat by Po, Kung Fu Panda villains were dragged into court and charged for their crimes? We'll start with the Snow Leopard, who was almost the chosen one, like Neville Longbottom. Tai Lung was never supposed to be the villain. That's what makes his story different. He was raised by Master Shifu to believe he was destined to be the Dragon Warrior. Unlike the Furious Five, Tai Lung was raised alone and trained in isolation. So the title of Dragon Warrior was his only purpose in life. Because when someone is raised from childhood to believe they are the chosen one, and then that illusion is shattered in a single moment, that usually ends badly. So when Master Oogway denied him the Dragon Scroll, Tai Lung didn't take it easy. He turned the Valley of Peace into a valley of destruction and war. Civilians were put at risk, some of them died, and every master who tried to intervene was dealt with. He wanted revenge, and he also wanted the Dragon Scroll. So he returned to the Jade Palace and tried to take it, but Master Shifu and Master Oogway were there, ready to stop him. He was defeated by Master Oogway, who blocked his chi with pressure points and was sent to Chorgom Prison, where he would remain for the next 20 years. Charges? Aggravated assault since he attacked Master Shifu, destruction of property since he damaged the Jade Palace, and attempted theft. Also, multiple counts of manslaughter, plus property destruction in the village he attacked. And public endangerment, of course. Now, according to experts, and considering the fact that they just invented cannons, Kung Fu Panda takes place during the Yuan Dynasty era, and in China, during that time, they had specific penalties for these crimes. For manslaughter, if it was unintentional, Tai Lung would be looking at 1 to 3 years of penal servitude, so hard labor, no pay. For aggravated assault, that's another 3 years of penal servitude plus heavy caning. They would literally bend him over, get a bamboo stick, and just beat his ass until it was red and raw. Then add 3 more years of penal servitude for destruction of property, and 3 for the attempted theft of the important scroll that held the secret about the Chosen One. For property damage he committed in the Valley of Peace, that's another 3 years of servitude, and for public endangerment, another heavy bamboo beat. So those would be the lawful punishments. But considering the massive destruction of the town, plus aggravated assaults that could also be interpreted as attempted murder, Tai Lung's most probable final punishment for all these crimes would be death by beheading. Tai Lung running count, death by beheading. Now, after getting his head chopped off, he wouldn't have been able to commit any of the crimes he committed after breaking out of jail. But let's assume he doesn't get beheaded for whatever reason, because we want to calculate the correct total punishment under these strict Chinese laws, even if it means multiple death sentences. After being caught and locked up for his rampage in the Valley of Peace, Tai Lung escaped from Chorgom Prison, and in the process, he ruined the reputation of one of the most secure prisons ever created. He assaulted and seriously injured dozens of rhino guards in the process. Then he threw a bundle of explosives directly at a large group of guards, which resulted in a massive explosion, and at least half of them were erased from existence. That's prison escape, destruction of a high security facility, 1,000 assault charges, since there's 1,000 rhino guards in the Chorgom prison, plus at least 500 murder charges. For the prison escape, that's just heavy bamboo beating. But for the destruction he caused, that's heavy bamboo beating plus 3 more years of penal servitude. For aggravated assault, 3 years of penal servitude per rhino. So that's 3,000 years of forced labor. And for 500 murders, that's 500 deaths by beheading. Tai Lung running count, death by beheading, plus heavy bamboo beating times 2, plus 3,003 years of penal servitude, plus 500 death sentences by beheading. But what makes Tai Lung extremely dangerous isn't just the violence or the incredibly fast movements. What makes him a complete beast is the fact that after all those years in prison, after finally breaking free, he didn't just go into hiding. He didn't even have to train to prepare himself. He went straight back to the Valley of Peace to get the Dragon Scroll. And when he caught the messenger Zeng, who was sent by Shifu to warn the guards about Tai Lung's plan to escape, he didn't even hurt him. he released him, sending him to notify Shifu and the village about the escape. On his way to the village, Tai Lung also fought with the Furious Five, which adds 5 more counts of aggravated assault, so that's another 15 years of penal servitude. Tai Lung running count, death by beheading, plus heavy bamboo beating times 2, plus 3,003 years of penal servitude, plus 500 death sentences by beheading, plus 15 years of penal servitude. And then finally, after all those years, he faced Master Shifu once again, his former mentor, and he tried to kill him. So that's another attempted murder and another death by beheading. Tai Lung running count, death by beheading, plus heavy bamboo beatings times 2, plus 3,003 years of penal servitude, plus 500 death sentences by beheading, plus 15 years of penal servitude, plus death by beheading. And after all that trouble, the scroll was blank. So every crime, every fight, 20 years in prison, countless lives lost, all for a blank piece of paper. And instead of realizing the absurdity of the whole situation, Tai Lung gets even angrier and tries to kill one fat panda. So that's another death sentence for the attempted murder, plus court-ordered anger management classes. And yes, they had those in China back then, but Tai Lung wouldn't get the opportunity to take any of them. If they were feeling merciful, they'd probably just chop his head off, but it's more likely that he would die from bleeding out of his butt after the ass whooping that he would have to endure. Tai Lung total count, 2 times heavy bamboo beating, 3,018 years of penal servitude, 503 deaths by beheading, and anger management classes. Now, let's talk about the Kung Fu Master who also escaped from a prison. A much different prison. General Kai broke all the universal laws of life and death because he came back from the spirit world to conquer all the masters and take their chi. While in the spirit realm, Kai stole the chi of thousands of Kung Fu masters. That's false imprisonment of the souls of those masters, plus black magic practice. And he transformed the masters whose chi he stole into mindless jade zombies that served as his army. For each master he imprisoned, we can count it as a death sentence, since this type of imprisonment and spiritual enslavement with black magic practices is way worse than murder. And while the exact number is unknown, it is speculated to be in the thousands. We can count it as 1,000 imprisoned masters. So that's 1,000 death sentences by beheading, out in the open. A nice family event. Kai running count, 1,000 death sentences. Before he escaped and came back from the dead, General Kai was a powerful warlord, and he was known as the Beast of Vengeance and Maker of Widows for his brutal conquests alongside Master Oogway. These can be counted as war crimes, and this was during the rule of the Tang Dynasty, so that's an immediate death sentence by beheading or strangulation. It was said that he tortured and murdered countless individuals, so that's enough for multiple death sentences. And although the exact number of his victims is unknown, we can safely assume that there were at least 1,000 of them. Kai running count, 1,000 plus 1,000 death sentences. But when he came back from the dead with his Jade army, Kai did something unforgivable. He invaded the mortal world, aiming to steal chi from every Kung Fu master alive. That's mass assault and attempted grand larceny. But the unforgivable part was his desire to rule all of China and establish himself as its absolute master. This was far worse than most of those crimes. At least that's how it would be perceived in China during the Yuan dynasty. That's treason, and in China, there was a special punishment for this ultimate crime. It's called 9 familial exterminations. And there's no way I can explain to you what this means and keep this family friendly. But let's just say that it included parents, grandparents, siblings, wife's family, children, and grandchildren. It was a total erasure of the bloodline. And the punishment for Kai himself would be Ling Chi. In translation, death by slow slicing, or death by 1,000 cuts. Yes, that's what it is. Slow and painful slicing of one's body until the last breath of that person. The ultimate punishment, plus the dishonor of the whole bloodline. Kai running count, 2,000 death sentences, plus Ling Chi, death by slow slicing, plus erasure of his bloodline, plus dishonor. But Kai's list of crimes was far from over. He fought with Master Shifu and the Furious Five. After defeating them, he took their chi, while the only one who escaped was the Tigress. He also damaged the Jade Palace and destroyed the statue of Master Oogway. That's property destruction and spiritual false imprisonment of Shifu and 4 members of the Furious Five. For property destruction, we can count it as 5 years of penal servitude, since the Jade Palace is an important historical landmark. And for false imprisonment on the spiritual level, that's 5 more death sentences, since it's not just imprisonment, but also sorcery, which was punished heavily in those times. Kai running count, 2,000 death sentences, plus Ling Chi, death by slow slicing, plus erasure of his bloodline, plus dishonor, plus 5 years of penal servitude, plus 5 death sentences. Kai's ultimate goal wasn't just power, but complete domination of all Qi. He intended to steal the Qi from the entire Panda village, which would have killed the last remaining survivors of Lord Shen's previous purge. And for all of those attempted murders of the whole Panda village, including the attempted murder of Po, we can count it as at least another 50 death sentences. Kai total count, 2,055 death sentences, plus Ling Chi, death by slow slicing, plus erasure of his bloodline, plus dishonor, plus 5 years of penal servitude. But Kai wasn't the only one with big ambitions. Operating from the shadows, the chameleon built an empire, and as the absolute ruler of that empire, she had the power to extort the most powerful crime families. And they weren't in the position to do anything about it, even when she demanded 60% of their earnings. That's extortion and criminal conspiracy. And this takes place during the early Ming Dynasty era, when the legal system became much more rigid under the Great Ming Code. She would get 3 years of penal servitude, plus heavy caning with bamboo as well, but if these crimes included violence and theft, and we know they did, then it would be exile or death penalty. The Ming Dynasty despised organized crime groups and considered them a threat to the state, so with all things considered, this would be, without a doubt, a sentence of death by strangulation. Chameleon running count, death by strangulation. But before we get to the execution, there is still her very colorful background. The chameleon was deemed not worthy of learning Kung Fu by various Kung Fu masters and training dojos in her past, because of her size. So she chose a different path, dark magic. Sorcery that can steal Qi from the greatest Kung Fu masters and transfer their powers onto her. That's identity theft and impersonation of authority figures, and those crimes, if used to gain money and power, would result in exile. Chameleon took the Qi of 76 different masters, and that's equal to murder, so that's 76 deaths by strangulation. And for the practice of black magic itself, Ling Chi was usually the prescribed punishment. Something so deeply evil, such as using magic for harmful purposes, was a huge crime, and Chameleon's practice of black magic had many victims, so that's Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, and dishonor. Chameleon running count, death by strangulation, times 77, plus exile, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, and dishonor. The chameleon also raised Zen in an emotionally abusive environment, training her to be an expert thief to serve as her minion. That's child exploitation, which brings 3 years of penal servitude. Zen, acting as a double agent, stole the Staff of Wisdom from Po and delivered it to the chameleon. That's criminal solicitation, which adds another 5 years of penal servitude, considering the importance of the artifact. Chameleon running count, death by strangulation times 77, plus exile, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure and dishonor, plus 8 years of penal servitude. And in the end, when she stole the Qi from the most powerful masters, there was only one more left. That's right, the clumsy panda. Chameleon, overloaded with stolen power, aimed to take Po's abilities too and become the Dragon Warrior herself. During their final fight, Chameleon tried to kill Po and Zen. That's 2 counts of attempted murder, which adds another 2 deaths by strangulation to her sentence. Chameleon running count, death by strangulation times 79, plus exile, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure and dishonor, plus 8 years of penal servitude. But Chameleon ultimately wanted the same thing General Kai wanted, to rule all of China. And the Ming Dynasty didn't take that well either, so that's another Ling Chi for her as well. Slow slicing, plus the erasure of her bloodline. And don't forget dishonor. Chameleon total count, death by strangulation times 79, plus exile, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure and dishonor times 2, plus 8 years of penal servitude. But of all of Kung Fu Panda villains, nobody was worse than the Peacock Prince of Gongmen City. Lord Shen was a master of manipulation. Cold, precise, and dangerous. Shen didn't wait for a great destiny like Tai Lung. He rewrote it himself. It all started with a prophecy, a simple warning that if Lord Shen went on the dark path of ambition and destruction, a warrior of black and white would defeat him. Now, a normal person might prepare, train, or at least try to think about changing his ways, but Shen went straight to genocide. He ordered the extermination of every panda that could be found. An entire species was nearly driven to extinction. Even if we count just a few hundred confirmed deaths, that's enough for a few hundred death sentences. The exact number of the eliminated pandas isn't known, but if we count only 500 of them, then that's 500 death sentences. But here's the thing, what if Lord Shen was a Mongol? Think about it. A peacock from a royal family, wants to conquer all of China, attempted genocide of Chinese pandas. Sounds familiar? Yes, indeed. Plenty of similarities between Lord Shen and Genghis Khan. So what would Lord Shen's punishment be for all of these crimes during the Yuan dynasty? Well, the Yuan was a very Mongol supremacist dynasty. According to the Yuan law, if a Chinese man killed a Mongol, the punishment was death. But if a Mongol killed a Chinese man, the punishment was a small fine, just one donkey. That was the value of a Chinese person's life, according to the Yuan dynasty. The fine was pegged to the value of a donkey, and it wasn't even about punishing the Mongol murderer or compensating the victim's family. The money was just enough to barely cover funeral expenses. No wonder these assholes were overthrown so fast. So, for Lord Shen, the extermination of the pandas would be a legal freebie. Pay a few donkeys and just get away with mass murder. Let's count it as 100 donkeys. Shen running count, 100 donkeys as payment. Now, his parents, the king and queen of Gongmen City, banished him as an additional punishment. So, Shen went to the mountains where he spent the next 30 years in bitterness, plotting his revenge. He slowly built his wolf army, and with them, he established a massive, secret industrial factory in the mountains. The result of this were his frightening cannons. And while the Yuan dynasty did not care about the lives of its Chinese subjects, it cared a lot about staying in power. Building your own army and making cannons was not a crime they could overlook, no matter who you were. Shen would be charged with unlawful production of weapons of mass destruction. And during the Yuan dynasty, that was treated as a high-level threat to state security and as a direct threat against the emperor and the state. Basically treason. So guess what? That's Ling Chi plus bloodline erasure and dishonor. Shen running count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, plus bloodline erasure, plus dishonor. When the wolves ran out of metal to build the cannons, Shen ordered them to attack the nearby villages and steal all metal objects. That's criminal solicitation for Shen, which adds 1 year of penal servitude. And those are assault charges for the wolves, which is enough for 3 years per wolf. An epic battle followed, and while Po and the Furious Five did defeat the wolves, they still successfully escaped with most of the metal they could find. So that adds robbery and banditry for the wolves, and we can count it as 3 years of penal servitude per wolf. Shen running count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, plus bloodline erasure, plus dishonor, plus 1 year of penal servitude. Wolves total count, 3 years of penal servitude per wolf. And when the weapons were ready, Shen attacked Gongmen City. He staged a massive coup, overthrowing the ruling Kung Fu Council. With his cannon, Shen murdered Thundering Rhino, and then he imprisoned Master Storming Ox and Master Croc. That's treason, murder, and false imprisonment. Shen's entire goal was to eliminate Kung Fu itself, wiping out every master who could oppose him. That's a conspiracy to commit mass murder, which is an immediate death by beheading. Plus another one for the murder of Master Thundering Rhino, who was an important leader of the ruling council. For false imprisonment, another death sentence, since these are all members of the ruling council. And for treason against the council that counts as part of the state, that's another Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, and dishonor. Shen running count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, dishonor times 2, plus 1 year of penal servitude. Soon after Shen took over and became a threat to both masters and civilians, the overweight black and white warrior showed up, just as the prophecy foretold. And obviously, Shen did everything he could to kill this black and white enemy. He shot Po with the cannon, which ended up with Po falling into the river below. But he didn't die, because for a fatso like Po, you need at least 50 cannons. His body can absorb the cannonballs naturally. That's another attempted murder, and another donkey as payment. Shen Run and Count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, dishonor times 2, plus 1 year of penal servitude, plus 1 donkey as payment. Po didn't die, but many believe that his life came to an end, and so did Shen. So, he captured the Furious Five, which adds another false imprisonment charge. During the dramatic entrance into Gongman City that followed, Shen ordered his men to destroy the bridge as a show of force to the captured Furious Five and the citizens of Gongman City, clearly making a point that his cannons could easily destroy traditional structures. That's destruction of property plus public endangerment, since they didn't really care if there's anyone around. So that's another 3 years of penal servitude for false imprisonment, another heavy beating with bamboo, plus 3 years of penal servitude for destruction of property, and 5 years of penal servitude for public endangerment. Shen Run and Count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, dishonor times 2, plus 1 year of penal servitude, plus 1 donkey as payment, plus heavy bamboo beating, plus 11 years of penal servitude. The final confrontation with Po and the Masters resulted in large-scale destruction. Lord Shen tried to end the black and white pain nuisance a few more times, but it all failed, and we can count that as another donkey as payment. Shen Run and Count, 100 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, plus bloodline erasure, dishonor times 2, plus 1 year of penal servitude, plus 1 donkey as payment, plus heavy bamboo beating, plus 11 years of penal servitude, plus 2 donkeys. And of course, what's a great villain with a great punishment without at least triple Ling Chi? Yes, Lord Shen wanted to rule all of China, and he dreamed about it for 30 years while in exile. And even if he was a Mongolian peacock, and he probably was, it's still a conspiracy to commit a coup against the Staten, which is high treason. So that's another painful Ling Chi, plus another family dishonor and erasure of bloodline for him as well. Shen total count, 102 donkeys as payment, plus Ling Chi, bloodline erasure, dishonor times 3, plus heavy bamboo beating, plus 12 years of penal servitude. So that was it, the life and crimes of Kung Fu Panda villains. What do you think? Was Ling Chi too much? Or was it appropriate punishment for these crimes? And if you like this video, check out this one where we defend all AI villains.